Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 4:05. Approval of the minutes from April 13th. Would you like to second it? Okay. Let's see. Oh, we need to do roll call. I'm sorry, I skipped over that.
Commissioner Carey?
Here. Here. Okay. I'm assuming we don't have any public comment or presentations or new business. And so we can go, you want to go to review the goals or have some staff first?
Yeah, let's wait for Commissioner Lee to review the goals so we
Okay.
can go on to budget update from Ryan.
Good afternoon. Overall, the department continues to do well in terms of budget. We're 83% through the year, and we're 6.35% under. We're doing a little bit better in Measure U, and I know Alex had mentioned in the last meeting that's where we might be able to help out with some of our programming needs and purchases needs on both the rec and park side. When it comes to COVID, our numbers are improving quite a bit. We've had over 120 people on the list at some point over the past year. Up until yesterday, we had everybody back at work or returning to work today, and we got notice of a staff person today who's out with symptoms. So we have one person on the list, 2 returning this week. So our numbers have increased greatly, and I think that has to do with the vaccinations. I know quite a few of our staff have been vaccinated, and that has helped quite a bit with our COVID numbers. Any questions on budget or our COVID numbers? Thank you.
Okay, noteworthy activities.
So you all got the noteworthies, and again, it's just, even though it was a quiet month, it was a busy month, several things happening around, especially on the rec side of things. And projects continue to move forward, lots of things happening with our projects. If you have any questions on the noteworthies, just ask Dennis or Brett. Happy to try to answer any of those. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any questions. Nope. Director's report.
So not a whole lot to talk about this month. It was kind of a strange month in that it wasn't terribly busy as far as administration things go. One of the things that Ryan didn't mention that he was working on is the mid-year budget adjustments that go to the council next meeting. So we did have to prepare a packet of desires and needs and wants. The good thing is everything that we asked for the last time we submitted the budget, about a year ago or so, we didn't have to resubmit those. Those were automatically reconsidered. Whether or not we got them or not, we won't know until probably next week when the staff report is completed. A couple of changes in that that we were able to do centered around some upgrades to a couple of our positions we were trying to ask for. Capital, what else did we do in there?
It was the ranger position, so Casey's, and then we did the capital for the ranch.
Yes.
That was the big one, the capital for the ranch.
Yeah, last year for some reason or another, obviously our mistake, we missed the line item for Los Flores. Every year we put an amount of money into a line item for the ranch, and last year we forgot. So we're scrambling around trying to get finance to work with us to fund it last year. So this year we put it back in. It's about $150,000, somewhere in that range. Then the additional items that we were talking about. So last year, if we submitted a budget, when we submitted the budget, we also submitted a budget reduction plan. And because of COVID, they didn't really implement that plan. However, it will be implemented this July. So even though I believe ours is the reduction of a ranger position and a clerk position. So we'll lose those 2 positions in the budget this July. The good thing is that there's no one in those positions right now, so it's not a tough, but it is still tough. I mean, it's still positions that we can't have to do without. We did get released from the hiring freeze. Now we are in hiring mode again. So Ryan has been working hard to get a lot of our positions filled. You know, we had some retirements last year that we had to kind of carry along. We were able to get those out. We had movement when Ryan moved from supervisor to analyst. His position was kind of shared in interim. We were able to recruit for that. So, yeah, most of them in parks have been kind of the big gap where we had Jerry Watson retire from the aquatic section with his years of experience was a tough one to do, but we're going to be filling that now. We finally filled the position for the Mayor's Youth Task Force. David Rodriguez was the finalist that was hired for that position. So he moves from rec tech to rec coordinator, and he'll be handling the task force, working with the mayor and that group of staff. So it's been busy. A lot of, I guess shuffling is probably the only way to kind of describe it. Everybody kind of moving around. And once we move one person out of one position, that usually creates another position that's open. And during COVID, the requirement, if we were hiring, was pretty much to keep the recruitments in-house. Now that we're kind of out of the freeze, we're able to recruit outside the organization. So we're looking closely at the jobs and whether or not we have a pool of people internally, and if we do, then we'll keep it as a promotional. If there's not a pool of applicants within the city, then we'll go ahead out to the public and recruit from the public at large. So, yeah, it's kind of exciting to get the positions filled again. We were notified yesterday that overall, the city's budget was in pretty decent shape. COVID kind of had its impacts as far as revenue goes, but the departments really did stellar work in keeping the budget under control as far as expenditures go. A lot of vacancies. As I said, with the hiring freeze, it was tough to fill anything. But it seems like the city will be coming out of this year in a much better light than was projected before COVID, when the budget was adopted, and we plan to be dipping into the reserves pretty significantly. That doesn't seem to have to be a need this time around. So overall, it's better financially anyway. I won't say it's good, but it's better than it was. Yeah, Brett, anything that I missed director-wise?
No, I think just, one of the things that we're seeing too is that everybody else is recruiting. And so that's sort of added another layer of challenge to us. And, we've got some folks that, other agencies, even within our own city, have positions open that are promotional in nature for folks that are in my organization. And, offered promotions, all of a sudden we're down 3 positions. And so that really puts a crimp on, how quickly we're able to respond in the field and continue with projects and things like that. And so that's just another added layer of, sort of challenge that's come to pass with COVID. And
yeah.
So,
We've trained our people well, and other people want them really bad. So they end up going to another department pretty easily, and which is great for them, bad for us. We just have to start all over again. But that's kind of been our story for a long time. So that's it for director's report, unless there's any questions. We did hand out the thank you letter that we got here, Miss Sheila. So we've gotten some nice thank yous lately. I got an email that was a nice thank you from from a former commissioner and council member Zuniga that I sent out to you all. That was pretty cool about her family going out and visiting their memorial tree, and I thought it was pretty emotional, so I thought I sent it out to everybody so you could all take a look at it.
Yeah.
So we sent it out to all our staff too, so, yeah. Rec Division report.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today, prior to COVID, we had discussed during the budget process reopening some community centers. At that time, the funding wasn't available, and then we were put on a hold for a while. So happy to announce that we'll be reopening Manami Community Center in the afternoons from Wednesdays through Saturdays. The hours are yet to be determined, but we're looking at 4 hours a day for some open gym time and for some recreational programming to be happening.
Youth.
For youth.
Yeah.
It is a quick turnaround time. We look at opening that in June, so we will have that up and running. And so we'll probably have a soft opening at first to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row, and then start the advertising later in the month. So check that out. I did give you a flyer for Text My Gov. It's the text program that we've been discussing. It's live now, so please feel free to share that phone number or QR code with anyone that wants to send a comment. All they really have to do to start is say hi, and most of the responses are automated, giving them directions on where they can look on our website. So if you type in swim lessons, it'll go straight to the registration page for all of our swim lessons. If you want to make a report, we've actually had one report of some tree limbs that were a little long, and it just so happened that same day they were out there trimming them. So it's been working great. We just continue to advertise it to let people know that we're available just about any time to listen and hear what they have to say. We have an official signed swim club agreement. So the swim club will be utilizing the pool for 4 hours during the week and 2 hours on Saturdays for programs that they run. Currently is just swim practices for their athletes. We look at partnering with them in the future for some additional activities. Downtown Friday nights, if all goes well, will actually kick off next Friday. All the paperwork has been submitted. We just need to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. It's going to be a soft opening, but they'll have a live DJ instead of live music. The restrictions on live music are a little bit challenging right now. And so we're looking forward to having some events coming back starting next Friday. We have some new programs that'll be happening this summer at the Buena Vista Cabin. We have a traditional camp program that will run 4 hours a day in the morning with traditional activities, camp related. And then we're going to do some safe and strong activities in the afternoon, and that's the program that's just open for rec drop-in time as well. And then on one night a week and on Saturdays, we'll be running a nature program out of the cabin as well. So we're excited about that. We're just about full on Eno's house furnishings. We did have a call out for furniture donations, it's funny, I never heard of a pump organ, and yesterday we picked up a pump organ, and today someone wanted to donate a pump organ. So we're getting a list together, a final list to see if there's any last pieces we need. But what we're really looking for at this point are the smaller items. I did receive some hurricane lamps yesterday, but fixtures are really important, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, anything that looks period or in good condition. We don't have a restoration budget, so we do ask that they be in pretty good condition. So we're still collecting those items as well. A lot of the smaller items, got a clock today and some additional things. But so if you come across anybody who's interested, most of the furniture's been received. So thank you for helping get the word out. And just one quick challenge that we're facing is every time we have an update on COVID and the restrictions loosening up, it doesn't always apply to the city. As federally, those restrictions are quite broad, and by the time it gets to us, our county has different restrictions. So one of the challenges we're facing right now is at the pool deck when you have a parent and child in the swimming pool taking a swimming lesson and the other parent wants to watch. They can't actually be on the pool deck. So We have gotten probably 3 or 4 complaints in the last couple weeks, all surrounding that. So we're still requiring a mask anytime you're on the pool deck until you're in the water. There's no visitors right now during events and activities. It's really for the participants only. And those are just issues we're continuing to see. We won't go broad-based programming until the restrictions do loosen up, because right now they read that we would have to check for vaccinations or a negative COVID test, and we're just not staffed at that level to be able to do that. So until those restrictions loosen up, we won't be hosting events like concerts in the park and those kind of activities. And that's my update.
And is
Yeah.
the anticipation date approximately July? Is there an
Yes.
anticipation date?
There's quite a bit of gossip around when we think, I've heard as early as June 15th for restrictions to really loosen up. And until we see it in writing, it's hard to predict. I can tell you, we're getting ready. We're already talking to bands. Concerts in the park is a big deal around here. So we, not only that event, but we have National Night Out coming up in August. We're planning as if we're going to be open. Yes, we know there's going to be modifications to those events, but we're planning for worst case scenario and hoping for best. So we'll be prepared in any situation, hopefully.
Thank you.
Do you want to pass it down, please?
Mr. Molina has a question.
Just gonna note on that, been driving around town, everything's opening up more.
Yeah.
The kids are out there playing, so people are walking more on the trails, you see more activity going on in the city right now.
Yeah. Basketball hoops got up that same day that the order was changed, and so you're driving by any park, you're going to see those courts being utilized. The parks crew has just really done an amazing job keeping up with the amount of public utilizing the parks during the last year. Driving by 2 parks every day, it's just amazing to me how full they are all the time, and that's really what makes our job fun.
Right, and it seems like everybody's social distancing still, and there's still everything, everybody just happy to be out.
Yeah.
And we do have some good activities, people following the rules, people following as closely as they can, because sometimes it's tough to, discern. We do have a couple of groups that are not necessarily, the fact that we have that flag football group that's non-city related that has some issues with COVID, but their real issues are that they're not following the city's field use policies. So I actually had Casey mail them an administrative citation for their use of the park without a permit. They're a very large organized group. They charge about $150 a kid to play. So we're trying to kind of rein them in a little bit and get them into some compliance. Again, it's not truly a COVID issue. It's really more of you need to get a permit to use the park for that kind of activity. So we're working on that. Brett?
Okay. Operations. I hate to keep pushing these dates back, but it's the best I can do. We
Give Ann one. I don't know if I got
are
it.
moving forward with Chapel
There's
Plaza.
32.
There's one more signature we need, and then we'll have our permit, and that's from our
Yeah.
civil engineer. And so for all intents and purposes, we've got our permit for Chapel
Did you have
Plaza.
that? Okay.
We also,
You can keep extra.
we also have the easement completed, and so that is the final draft on that, just making a couple changes here and there, grammatical. That went over to the Family Services Agency today, and so it should be blessed, and once that's sent back to me saying that, yes, we're in agreement, it'll be scheduled the same time as probably that the bid authorization will go out, so. And then we'll have that easement in place so that we can proceed with construction. The one thing that we're doing on this project that is going to be a little bit unique is that we're going to get numbers from what's called our job order contract. Job order contract is a pre-negotiated construction group, for lack of a better term. They will give us numbers based on pre-negotiated rates and then turn us around a number for the project based on what our scope is. And so we don't have to go out to bid. So the potential for time saving on that is about 2 to 3 months. And so we're hopeful that we can be within our budget using the JOC process. It also gives us more flexibility in the field when we're, you know, when we got the bid on a public bid, we're going to be doing whatever was in those plans and whatever was on that bid. You know, there's not much flexibility in that project. With a job order contract, we can be a little bit more flexible once we're in the field and making changes and things like that, and deleting items and things of that nature. So there's pros and cons. So we should have numbers on that within 2 weeks. And then once that comes back, if we're in budget or if we think it's a reasonable number, we'll either proceed or we'll elect to go out to bid. So exciting. The trees, we relocated 3 trees, and then the other trees that were in the way are, the site is cleared otherwise, but they are being put to good use. As far as the wood chips are concerned, we're going to use them at Buena Vista Park to do a renovation there. So new plant material, new wood chips from Chapel. So we are using them. So let's see, Veterans Memorial Park. We should have plan check back on that either today or tomorrow. And so that's our first round of plan check. And then that will go back to our architect, engineers, consultants and everything, get the plans, you know, reworked, and then back for submittal. And so, you know, my hope on that is that we are able to resubmit for a permit in early June. And then things have been taking about 8 weeks to get through, 8 to 10 weeks to get through plan check. And so I'm hoping for a July permit, which puts me on track for a September bid, but we'll see. And so these dates might slide a little bit, but this one, it's not as critical as the Chapel Plaza project. So we did, let's see. Yeah, that's enough on that one. Any questions on that? Oh, I should mention we did have a discussion internally with the capital committee and decided that the game time group was most favorable, and I did speak with also the park staff and other staff internally, and they liked that option. And so there were some comments from both park staff and from our internal capital committee meetings. So I forwarded those comments to our vendor to have them incorporate, you know, various features and whatnot, various comments, to see if we can get a play structure that meets everyone's expectations. And that's a tough row to hoe, but we'll do our best on that front. And so we'll be taking that back into staff, and we'll probably have one more discussion in the capital committee on what that playground's going to look like. So, but it's pretty cool. Smith Eno's house. So the structural upgrades are 100% complete. We are working on obtaining bids for paint remediation, lead-based paint remediation, and then encapsulation. And so that, you know, will effectively give us a wall that we can work with on the exterior. And then we'll, you know, basically work through reworking the fascia and cleaning up the exterior of the building, repainting the exterior of the building, working on the roof. And so we are, if we get numbers within 2 weeks, then we're going to be able to start construction or start remediation pretty quickly. And so that's our hope, is to, you know, that everything checks out on that front, and we'll be able to be out there working here pretty quickly. There is a permit from the Air Board that I believe needs to be had, so that might be one thing that will delay us a bit, but that's our contractor's responsibility. And then we're also working on the landmark status. I know that that's going, what is it, next week?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's in process, and so that'll enable us to submit our plans and get those approved for the interior, which we're calling phase 2. I'm hoping for that work to bid out in August, you know, depending on how long the permit's going to take. But we do have all the plans, and so we're going to be finalizing those internally and getting those into plan check. So the remainder of the project, we are balls in our court. You know, we need to choose the finishes on the building. And so once that happens, we can move the rest of the project forward. And then we had a meeting today to establish what we think is appropriate phasing for the project, in that how much work do we want to complete in each bid phase. So we think we have that identified. We think we have a better picture of what the funding is going to look like. And so based on that information, we'll select the phasing and move forward with that project and finalize everything that needs to be finalized. I don't have dates yet because there's still too many balls in the air, too many questions. Preschool Park, irrigation and trail. So we obtained the CDBG approval on that, and we will be proceeding to full design. Well, actually, it's going to be July. Technically, we can't start on this until July 1, until the new fiscal year. So we're doing some preliminary work and preliminary research and doing everything that we can do without having to pay out-of-pocket consultants and things of that nature that wouldn't be allowable under CDBG rules. But we will be moving quickly on this one, is my hope. I know that was the hope with Chapel, but this one, it's a very straightforward project. There's going to be some review for the trail for ADA purposes, but nothing to the level, there's, very minimal otherwise. So hoping we can move that one quickly and be under construction this winter. Preschool Park Pond, so we are trying to figure out a way to repair the pond. And we had a consultant out there last week to give us some ideas on, he's going to write up a proposal and how much he thinks it would cost based on the various options. And so we at least have someone that has done this before at our employ. And so we'll see what he says. I can't really say much until we get his proposal, and then we'll be able to say go or no go, or look for other options. So there's a couple of different options. One option is a liner. We just go back, we reline it, and that'll last for about 10 years. The other option is to rework the subgrade of the pond itself and then put a mat slab of concrete over the top of it, and then put a liner, well, a coating, if you will, on that will last indefinitely and that is easily repairable. So that's the option that we'd really like to see. We just don't know how much that option is going to cost yet and whether or not we can afford it. And then there's also, because of health concerns and things like that, you need to make sure that the water is the water can't be toxic, and so you need to make sure that you have mechanical and filtering functions that will allow for minimal touch. And so it's not going to be a pool quality, but there's still requirements that we have to meet through the health department and everything like that. So those are the challenges that we have with that. We could just put water in the thing, but it's going to sink into the ground and our operating costs are going to be really high. So that's the problem that we have. Rodenberger Playground, we are working to demolish that structure starting on the 16th. The fences will go up and we'll be demolishing that. The new structure that we already have it. It'll fit in the current footprint. The only question that we have out there is whether or not we're going to go with wood chips for the fall material, or if we're going to do tile or another pour in place. So we're getting numbers on that to decide what route we want to go there. But otherwise, everything will fit nicely into our current footprint. So just a couple of notes from special districts. I know that's a lot of information. Any questions so far? I know that I tend to run on. We are working on the Miller Street basins. So both on Inger and Enos, there's a couple of basins that over the years just kind of look crummy. And so we're trying to come up with permanent fixes for those, and that involves changing the irrigation in those cases. And so it's a budget challenged area, and so we're doing what we can, but we expect that to take place this month and next month, and then hopefully we don't have to talk about it again. So we're also doing renovations of Bradley Square, and so there's a traffic circle there that we're gonna make look like the other traffic circles, and so the staff is gonna be demolishing the existing plant material and then making it match the others and kind of giving it a refresh. And then we did also, special districts replanted the roundabout at Westgate. And so right on Sonia, as you enter Westgate, there's that little roundabout that I don't know that I've ever seen good plant material there. And so we finally got that replanted, and that should start looking good. And then Donovan Estates, we have a little basin there that, you know, last year looked terrible. In the middle, it was all dry, and on the outside, it's green. And so again, we're trying to fix these issues that we know that we're going to have, because Santa Maria isn't going to go away in 2 years. And so I want to make sure that the fixes that we make are going to last for a long time, and that we have a longer term outlook, so that we're not talking about the same issue every year. Fix it, move on. So that's generally the approach that we're trying to take. So that's really all I have from the project's point of view. That's a lot of information, but any questions, any concerns that I need to know about?
I have a question. The Miller Street Basin renovations, is that one particular one? I know there's a couple there.
Yeah, there's one at Miller and Enos, and there's one at Miller and Inger. There's more, but those are the main ones that have caught our eye. And so there's low pressure on some of them. There's poorly designed irrigation systems. There's poor, you know, plant material. They use the wrong seed in certain cases. And so our first step is, you know, with the low water pressure systems, we can't afford a booster pump out there. And so what we're going to do is add more stations and then try and shrink the size of the watering so that the pressure will be higher, and then we'll have a longer watering window. So it's a relatively inexpensive thing that we can self-perform. You know, it'll cost us our staff time, but PVC pipe is pretty cheap. And so that's the approach we're taking, is do what we can. You know, the nice thing to do would be to put a pump in, but can't really do that with the current budget. So, and both of them are about kind of the same.
Well, I just wondered which ones you were looking at.
Yeah, it's those two. Yeah. And we've had complaints on those, and so it's, you know.
Well, I live very
Yeah.
close to one of them.
Yeah.
She's the anonymous complainer.
All
Thank you.
right. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee, we waited on going over the goals until you got here. So if you don't have a problem, we'll go back to item 6. So what I asked the staff to do is, you know, take the 3 goals that we talked about at the retreat and kind of put them out here so we could kind of throw them around a little bit today. We have been, since the meeting, we have gone ahead and done some work on these things. So on the 3 goals, I know that Cindy Hoskins has been working with Commissioner Velasco to work on the play side of fundraising, also to look at marketing and squeezing it in between 3 or 4 grants that she's working on at the same time. So we do have the person, I guess, for lack of a better term, to work on these things, and it's just a matter of now getting the Playboard a little bit more involved. We met with a prospective Playboard member to add a new member to the board. So if that happens, that'll help us. That'll bring us to 6 board members, and then we're looking for a 7th. And we talked to Donna Randolph, who's a local insurance agent and was also on the Measure U review committee set up by council. So she's considering a position on the Playboard. And we're seeking out other potential members. The board can go up to 9. So we like to say that uneven number. So we're looking for one more person so we can get to 7. But that continues. Also, anything that you all can come up with ideas-wise as far as development goes, I know Commissioner Lee's had a couple of suggestions that we could look at. I think those are the things that we need to continue to hear from you. We've been working with outside groups to look at fundraising activities that maybe they do on behalf of Play. We had a really good pickleball tournament it's probably been a few years ago now, 2 years ago with a pickleball club. You know, now they're kind of focused in raising money for their courts, but it still gives us an opportunity to kind of use their contacts to outreach for things and sponsorships and those kinds of things. So looking for other groups like that to work with and trying to do a partnership thing. Dennis mentioned the swim club, that we're looking at trying to come up with some ideas on how we can partner, maybe not so much on the fundraising side, but on the public information side, looking at doing some outreach swim lessons to non-swimmers to kind of just do an introduction to water. There's a grant that they brought up from USA Swimming that you partner with a city and then with an active swim club, and then look at outreach to the community to bring in non-swimmers to teach them how to swim. Water safety, I think, was how they put it. And then maybe out of those people that come in for water safety, you may end up with maybe a few youth who are interested in competitive swimming. So we're trying to lay some groundwork to work with them and come up with a program. So just looking at new avenues. As far as building community partnerships with the schools, Brett and I had an opportunity to meet with Matt Beecher, the Assistant Superintendent of Business, and he pretty much handles all the facilities that the district has and his staff. I would say it was a very productive meeting. I think it was very positive. I think I mentioned before that the district has a new facilities manager. Their operations person is from out of the area, just came in, has a different perspective on school field use. One of them that's a little bit more positive, so that he's trying to make it less of an individual school thing to being something reservation-wise, that you would actually have a central system, kind of like what we do, and you would go into the district office or wherever they designate and then make your field reservations there and work with that staff. I would say it's kind of taking us back to the way things were maybe 20 years ago, where you actually worked through the district office for all your field renovations. Yeah, so it's a positive step. So I know that we had talked about at the retreat about getting together either with the school board and talking to them about their field policies. I left the meeting feeling like at the staff level now, there's a lot more willingness to discuss it. So what I'd like to suggest is maybe the partnership committee and Brett and I get together and we talk a little bit. Maybe Commissioner Malena can bring some of the concerns he's hearing from the field users and telling us, what the problems are. I think we know, but that's not, I don't want to make any assumptions. So maybe if you gather up some info from people and say, yeah, here's the issues we're having at schools, then we can package that up and maybe sit down again with Mr. Beecher and kind of have a discussion about what we see going on and how we can help. That's not the only other thing is, we didn't say, oh, well, school district, you need to do it on your own. How can we help? Is there a way we can help with field renovations? Is there a way we can help with scheduling? What is it that we can share our resources on, trying to come up with a solution? So anyway, it seemed like it was an open thing, so we'll probably end up setting up a partnership committee maybe in the next couple of weeks to talk about it. So I don't know how much time you need to get feedback from people, but I'm sure you probably already have a lot of feedback from people as far as getting into schools and cost and condition of fields and that kind of stuff, or what they'd like to see.
Well, first of all, thank you guys, because, after our last meeting, I was jumped on right on it, and now we're working with the school district, so that's basically, you guys are, meet with them, you want to make that meeting happen. The youth groups that are out there and all the groups the school district get together and meet. We're on the right steps on that.
Okay.
I'm glad to see it just happening real fast now, because now we can move forward. The old days, like you said, we used to go to school district, reserve, and we had field time. It alleviated a lot of pressure from the city.
Yep.
Hopefully you guys continue that and the next couple of weeks. Like I said, our groups, everybody's group, they have the same complaints. They just can't get on it, and they just want to get on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we're going to need to be sensitive to, and that Matt mentioned to us, is when they have students at the school, they're not going to allow other people to come on campus, and that's really a strong point for them. I'd call it a deal breaker, because they have certain requirements, student safety to their own students, that they're just not willing to compromise on, and so we need to think of how to be sensitive around that subject and understand what their needs are. Otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere with this. So I know that that's limiting in some fashion, but we need to think about how to be flexible beyond that with that in mind. So.
On that page too,
Yeah, it's just times are different than they were, so, yeah.
the after-school programs are first.
But he brought that up specifically, and so I just want to know that eyes wide open going into it, so.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues, but the Saturdays and Sundays, too, will alleviate a lot of pressure. There's no kids there.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, so let's find out where there is overlap,
Yeah, you guys are on the right, that's great. You guys are moving forward with that.
And then the third goal was to enhance environmental sustainability initiative through solar, carbon, wind, turf, water, use of pesticides, trees, landscaping, capture benefits, community garden. So a lot of stuff in that one statement, but I think basically what it means is to be more environmentally responsible. And those are the things that will take a little bit more work and a little bit more time and a lot more money. We have looked at options, as we mentioned, trying to reduce our electrical use footprint. That's all in our PG&E plan, which hasn't been funded, so we have a plan. Now it's just a matter of the council determining that those things are important enough that they need to do in the mix of the other 150 or so city projects that need to be funded. So we're hoping that during this rescue plan allocation that we do get at least a few projects in that we can use, some relamping projects that would save energy and again reduce our footprint a little bit on the grid. Brett has been talking about looking at solar for the pool, and that's again a big ticket item that we would need to investigate in and see how that works. There is a solar farm planned out at the landfill that the city would use to kind of offset its electrical use. That's out there, still in the mix, so there are some steps going that way. Internally, I know that Parks has always tried to be conscious of limiting their use of pesticides in particular in the parks. And so we try to stay away as much as possible. And if we do pesticides, we typically contract that work out to a contractor who is a licensed pest control person or company, so that we don't have to take that responsibility on of having to have that extra knowledge. Brett, anything else on trees and landscaping? I know we talked a little bit about trees.
Yeah, just, that we've, during our last discussion with the tree committee, we sort of officially kicked off the, I'll call it the Environmentalist Sustainability Committee that also includes trees. That's one issue that can help us accomplish that goal, but I think we made it clear that we're also going to include things that, can help us otherwise offset our carbon footprint or, just help us understand and be aware of how big this problem is and what are the things that we should be doing as a city. And so that's entered our realm of discussion. And I think that, you know, it's exciting to me. I mean, it's, you know.
You know, we do face our challenges. You know, one of the things that happened last week or the week before, Scott Christian came to me with a request from PG&E to cut down all our trees on North Railroad under their power lines and on West Battles because they felt that they were a hazard to their distribution system. And a lot of that is in reaction to the fact that they, you know, went bankrupt because of fires and these high tension power lines failing and then dropping to the ground, creating fires and that kind of stuff. So we have taken the position that and we're not interested in that right now, that our trees are at a particular height in their age that they really don't pose a threat themselves to the lines. Obviously, if a line falls on them, sure, they could catch fire, but you know what, the risk benefit there was kind of unclear. And then the removal of shrubbery was the other that we're not really sure about. We try to make sure that when we do a landscape design and it happens to go under power lines, that we stick with a variety of trees that maybe gets 15, 20 feet tall, 25 feet, somewhere around there. And their power lines are running, I don't know, 60, 80 feet up off the ground. So the clearance between them is pretty substantial. Downtown, you'll see some of the trees around town that have kind of been V-cut and the wires running through the neighborhood. Those we understand are more of a, to us, more of a problem, the way that they're trimmed, and then the fact that they're right under the power lines, and sometimes right under the power lines. So these are high tension lines. It's a little bit different. We've taken the position that let's have a discussion about it. Let's decide what's acceptable. City attorney's kind of taken the position too that unless the vegetation is hazardous to their lines, that he doesn't see a need for us to remove them. They do cite a lot of state law, and like I said, with the recent fires, there's a lot of they have a lot of reasons to remove, you know, shrubbery, but we're not going to clear cut under those either. So we'll kind of go from there. Scott also brought up a project Brett and I were talking about on at the Walmart Center, the Home Depot Center there. Them desiring, now if you've noticed, they've built a lot of ancillary buildings in the parking lot. And so now those buildings are requiring, well, they don't require, they want street signage. And so our trees that are in the parkway there would need to be removed in order to accommodate their street signage. So we're having some discussions with them too about the value of the trees, the placement of the signs, you know, what can we negotiate out? Excuse me. Those fall within the public improvement plans. So they have to come and get our okay to remove them. So it's something that I'm sure Brett will bring up with the tree committee and talk a little bit more about the status of that. But that's the kind of request that we get, you know, all the time. If it's not from a private property owner saying the tree drops too many leaves on my lawn, to big commercial developments that say they can't see my sign, you know, it's an ongoing challenge that we have to kind of keep people on board. So to me, it falls into that goal that I think we're being told that we need to, as a staff, make that a priority. I could certainly sign a permit off in about 30 seconds and say, yeah, take the trees out. But we're using the commission's guidance in this goal to try to make sure that we support it, and that from a staff level that we're supporting it, and that we've exhausted every other possibility before we go to the, in this case, tree removal. So that's kind of an update on where we are with these three things since our last meeting, and I'd like to hear from you.
Just speaking out loud under the goal of environmental issues, I'm just thinking, maybe we should look into an area where we're focusing on education, personal responsibility, empowering the public. That's an example, adopt a park. What does that mean for that particular neighborhood? Perhaps, remember the Don't Be a Litter Bug program?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's countless others.
Yeah, and some of the things that just jump off my mind is, what are we doing specifically to set an example of how we can, and what does that meet into our savings goal or into our offset goal, using concrete or using DG instead of concrete. What's that look like? What does a tree do per gallon of gas? We need to make it understandable so that people can take action for themselves or understand the issue for themselves, because everybody has different, things that they think about in their mind. But our goal, we want to actually make a dent, right? That's what we need to at least look at. How can we make a dent, and what will it cost for us to make a dent? How do we need to change how we do things? What do we need to change in order to make a dent? And then, and it goes beyond greenhouse gas. It goes to water quality and, what have you. I mean, it's all encompassing, but nonetheless, yeah, it's good input. I think anything that you have, any idea you have, shoot me an email and we'll consider it,
Okay, on top of my mind, recycling comes into mind. Perhaps maybe one per year, we can really focus on people coming in and really recycling their old paint cans, electrical, computers, TVs.
Yeah, and composting and, using compost instead of fertilizer, and what's the difference? And I mean, that's a triple benefit that, you get. And so I know that we're working with the landfill too, I know they're going to be producing some more compost as part of a mandate. And so we may end up becoming a beneficiary of that. And so if we get to use compost instead of fertilizer, well, then we get to make a dent, because in order to make fertilizer, you have to use natural gas. And so, and if you're preventing food from entering the landfill, then you're preventing that methane production, and then that becomes a huge benefit for you. So a lot of interesting things that I think we can do here, and just show how we did it and what the impact is,
Thank you.
Anything else from any of the commissioners, any ideas you might have? And if you do, just let me know too, because we're open for ideas. Right now, it's been slow enough for us to look at new things and try to, find new partners for things. Brett.
I'm just curious, I know other cities have really focused on retrieving the energy, the solar, and making it citywide. Where is Santa Maria on that scale?
Behind the times, for the most part. A lot of it, I think they're trying to catch up right now. I think there's a lot more initiative to look at alternative energy sources, especially since the electrical rates continue to go up. And Diablo closing, creates an energy issue for us. So like I mentioned, they are looking at a solar farm out at the landfill, the Main Street landfill. They have been very proactive in the sale of their methane, siphoning it off and sending it to Marion, and then there's a company that actually sends it other places. But they recently made a change there too, where it's a different company coming in, or different management style that they're going to use. So those steps have happened. As far as anything, I don't know, like a citywide statement or anything like that, there really hasn't been anything.
I just recently went by the county office on Monteravia and noticed they have a whole bunch of solar generating.
Yes. Yeah, and that's, again, something that has come up in the PG&E plan. There was some solar recovery like that. I think that's what Brett's talking about for the swimming pool, where we would, it would need to be a massive electrical collection system in order to.
We probably don't have the square footage that we'd need at the pool structure, and so it's, can we get it from the landfill, and then, because then we can switch our gas-fired heaters over to heat pump units, and those are electrical, and so then we don't need to use natural gas anymore. We can use,
the solar.
Electricity,
Yeah.
and that's hopefully produced by, solar. So, it's, or other, means of non-carbon emissions, but.
Yeah, it's a challenge, I think, is the only word I can use. It really, the environmental issues pop up every now and then for the council. And it depends on who the council is at the time and how where their priorities are on things. And it has not been a priority to move that way, but I think we're seeing that change in the last couple of years. And I think it's to the good. I mean, I think we need to look at how can we, because things are just going to get so expensive we can't afford them. So you're going to have to look at the other alternative. It's the pay me now, pay me later. We pay for capital improvements right now, like a solar array somewhere. And, or we pay increased electrical bills over the next 20, 50 years, whatever it is.
Or even if we look at the auto industry, they're predicting that right now, within 10 years, everything's going to be electrical.
Yeah.
From hybrid to all electric eventually. So I think we need to keep up with the times.
Yeah, and that's a priority, of, I guess, mine personally. I think that, we can apply for grants and do things of that nature that, can help the city accomplish that goal without affecting the general fund. And then, we'll do what we can on that front. Talking about different projects that we have going where we could integrate things and that would be eligible for potential grants, that we could install chargers that would help us lower our cost of construction because they would be contributing to the project that we would otherwise, so there's things like that we're constantly thinking of. And, of course we have the Tesla chargers coming. So we're looking at it as best we can with the resources we have. If it goes beyond that, that's obviously a council question, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure, is it worth, not hiring, but seeking a consultant, come into the city and making those assessments. As an example, I live by Rotary Park. I'm looking at that pergola thinking, would it be beneficial to put solar panels on there and generate electricity? I'm not an expert, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of, do you want to have one large project like out where you have the economies of scale and you can build one large project to accommodate all your needs, or do you piecemeal it? And because every time we put a solar panel, we got to have a permit, we got to have a transformer, we got to have all the equipment that goes along with that. We got to have the power line that goes to it. And so there's those types of considerations where, like, the new structures that we build, we have to have solar panels integrated per Title 24. But the existing demand probably makes more sense for us to just bite off a big chunk and organize a project and use the economies of scale that would provide instead of the little ones here and there. But, it's always an option.
And the PG&E did come in, and the company they use was Sunland, I think it was, something like that, Southland, the Southland Corporation, and they did the study for the city. It cost the city like $500,000 for the study. So there is a study there, and that's the one I refer to as the PG&E study. It not only did our parks and our facilities, but it did the whole city, and that's where the solar array is contained within that report too. So the information is there and how to improve our heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems, and things like council got new windows, because the windows were so old that, they were no longer, keeping the temperature in. So those are new. And so those things are there, but it's just kind of biting off the elephant one bite at a time. And but the study is there, and I'd be happy to share it with you. It's pretty comprehensive, probably a couple of 100 pages easily. So.
I would assume that we're so far behind that curve, we could probably qualify for a ton of grants just by that. They'll see us and go, yeah, these people need it. I could be wrong.
I think you're going to see a lot more of the granting agencies, especially the state agencies, putting those kind of requirements on grants. When we apply for parks grants, there are certain, right now they're social, what's it called? More social types of issues that we need to address, diversity, inclusion. Those are included, that your grants have to deal with those things. But they've really fallen short about saying environmental kinds of things, even in, multi-million-dollar grants that don't even talk about environmental. Now, in your design, you got to follow the state law. So in state law, there's a lot of that stuff, but it's not a grant requirement in a lot of the things that we're looking for. Social justice, it was the term I was looking for. Those are really more of the emphasis right now in the grant applications we're seeing. Thank you. Anything else on these? We'll keep bringing them up to the commissioners and kind of giving you little updates on them. And as your subcommittees meet, we'll ask staff to bring you back to these and make sure that we're following along. I did get a call from the city manager that he wanted to talk about the goals for the commission, so I'm going to have a briefing with him tomorrow and talk a little bit about where y'all were coming from with these, and yeah.
I had one more point I wanted to make. At Jim May Park at the lake, there's a new sign, and the sign says caution, and then there's an algae education sign. So the State Water Board reached out to us and asked us to post that. It's to inform people, educate people about what blue-green algae is, and if there's a blue-green algae bloom. There would be other signs that would be put up that would restrict your access to the water. The sign that's there currently is only for awareness. There's no restriction or anything in the water. It's just, be aware that there could be blue-green algae here, and you'll see that at every single lake in California. So just wanted to advise you of that.
You brought up signs. I'm just curious, all those banner programs, is the Recreation Department in charge of that, or some?
So the Hancock banners?
Oh, throughout the city?
So special districts will actually install them. We installed a whole bunch for Hancock College for their centennial. Otherwise, it pretty much needs to come through.
Yeah, they just present different things. I just got an email from Sheila this morning about Marion Hospital banners being up around Marion, and Public Works has to give the permission to hang on their poles, if they're city poles. So we usually coordinate that for whoever is asking. We don't know anything about the Marion banners or how those got up, but we did do the Hancock banners and our own hometown heroes, and I believe we did the chamber ones too, that you see up around town right now.
So it's through Public Works, they're the managing.
They give permission to use the poles. We actually run all the project. We put the signs up, we charge the fee, we figure all that stuff out.
And is that a break even, or is that a profit-making venture?
Barely breaking even, yeah. I think for all of Marion's, it was about $4,000, I think, Dennis? Yeah, and Hancock, so.
Is that a potential money generating for the department? Would you want to go in that direction?
It's hard to say. I think if we charge what it truly costs us, people couldn't afford to do it. And, to produce a banner is about $200. So, and if you, like Hancock did a bunch of them, probably over 40 something. So there's, $8,000 to $10,000 there, and then $4,000 for us to put them up for them. So, it kind of depends on who the entity is. Marion and the college could probably handle that. If you look at Santa Barbara, they do their State Street Banners program. That's typically for nonprofits, and they underwrite a lot of that. The city underwrites a lot just to get the information out there on State Street. But I think it dresses up the community, when you're driving around, so.
It has that potential.
Yeah.
The question is, do we want to make money? I believe when I retired, the Recreation Center was thinking about making it a profit-making venture.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which direction they decided to go.
Well, we've sought out, not necessarily banners, but the advertising signs in our gyms and ball fields and all that. And that program was just kind of getting back to getting launched when we had the COVID thing come up. So that's another thing that we will do through Play. We'll offer those advertising opportunities.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we did 6, and then there was commission reports, I think, were down at the bottom.
Eight.
Randy? Commissioner report.
Okay, yeah, I have a few, just, actually, Commissioner Patterson and I attended our first landmark committee meeting last month. And it was interesting, it was fun, and as you probably read, that the landmark committee passed that we are making the recommendation to city council to grant landmark status to the Enos house. Anything else you want to talk about that? Or?
And that's going, it now goes to planning.
I think they already did it.
Yeah, Planning Commission has
Yeah.
completed it, and now it's going to the council
Yeah,
next
so
meeting.
council
And then-
next meeting, yeah. 420, the tree committee met, and as Brett said, we're now the environmental / tree probably / other thing committee. Let's see. Oh, and Brett took us, Commissioner Betterson and I on a tour of the Enos house. So we got to see all the new stuff. It did, I was thinking it doesn't smell like wood. It doesn't smell like, with all the new wood, it doesn't smell like it. But it's nice. Thank you for that. And, happy anniversary. It's like you just had your first anniversary here, right? Yeah, happy anniversary.
Already, wow.
I know, huh?
Congratulations.
And that's it, I have an idea for a fundraiser for the Playboard, so I'll get with Cindy on that. Yeah, please. And I'll just say, we used to do the All-America City stuff, and when it ended, or I guess it's on a shelf now, but we thought, why don't we do like a big once-a-year picnic, or once-a-year something, maybe like an ice cream social? And it would be kind of a cool thing, because we could do it at a park or somewhere, and, maybe we could make, like, the ice cream social part a little money maker, or do hot dogs or something. But that would be kind of a cool thing, and it would get us out there too, and get more people involved. Anyway, I'll talk to Cindy. Dunk tank, we could do a dunk tank. There was something else. Oh, I guess I'm kind of ready. They have this thing, Trees of LA, and I love it. It pops up on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just somebody started it, that she takes random photos of these trees in LA. Just, sometimes it's in a parking lot or in an old apartment house, but it's like just these cool trees. And so I get them, and I just love them so much. So I started Trees of Santa Maria.
I saw that.
Yeah, I sent it to you, you get it. But it's just, I've only got one posting so far. I've done a few of them up, but it's just on Facebook right now. I'm gonna do an Instagram, so I've been taking photos of our trees, and I've been, if I can't figure out what one is, Scott will tell, I'll text it to Scott, and he's like, this and this. Of course, I get to know all about it, which is even better. So probably next month it'll be really going well, but there's like quite a few people following it already, but so we have Trees of Santa Maria. So if anyone knows of a good tree, or sees one, let me know, or he wants to take it. See? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Just to dovetail off what Rick is talking about, I think the department needs to pat itself on the back. A lot of talk right now about the people drive by Costco. And we need to tell people what's going on. The program. I know we have a publicity department or in the staff members dedicated to that. Maybe, any comment? Dennis, is that under your umbrella or?
It is, yeah. We're lucky enough to have some great staff, including Daisy, Miranda, and Sasha, old last name, sorry. They work really hard on producing those pieces. Sasha alone created over 1,000 marketing pieces last year for all the activities, programs, events, park grand openings, and everything. So again, really, really lucky to have her skill and talent, as well as Daisy's. The house is a great example of publicity. Actually, we got some bad press on the house when it just sat there for a while. It was on the social media and, why isn't the city doing anything? And it's our role to really just remind the public that there is stuff happening behind the scenes. And so that what we've done with most of the projects, working with the parks crews, is getting out there before the project starts, taking pictures, getting out there while the project is going, taking pictures, getting them on the city website so people can refer to it for information. Eno's house is exactly the same way. We did the same thing with the swimming pool renovation to let people know what's going on.
Well, and also most recently the playground at Rodenberger, and put out a press release and let people know when it's going to happen, why it's happening. I think I've talked to 3 or 4 reporters on that one. So.
Chapel Plaza is the same way. We've got a fence up, we've got signage. It is important that we let as many people know what's going on as possible. The hard part is getting everyone involved in understanding where they can find that information. Social media for us has been a driving force these last couple of years, and even more so this last year with our numbers close to doubling. It's been great to see people going to those pages. But it's also our job to make sure that when someone posts that we can go in and respond appropriately. We do have some restrictions as far as social media goes, but we're usually able to at least identify areas where people need additional information and then at least steer them in the right direction. So, one of those questions is with this Text My Gov, this new features, just another resource so people can get information from us, because we do want people to be educated and understand what's going on in the Rec and Parks Department. So I'm going to actually just test it here in a minute to see if Eno's house is on there. But if you are to text or you hear people wondering about something, please let us know. We're happy to make sure that those resources are available.
So if I took a picture of this and posted it on Facebook and you shared it,
Yeah, we have the high-quality graphic piece already on our Facebook page. I know you're a friend there, so just share that one. It fits perfectly. It's designed, and again, Sasha has to do an amazing job keeping up with all the aspect ratios and sizes of all the social media, and I'm sure is aware of that. Being a graphic artist is a lot of work, and she does an amazing job.
wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Ann?
I was at the same meeting, Rebecca, so.
Commissioner Molina?
Well, just a few things. This last meeting, I was able to go take a walk around San Maria with all the opening days that they have to go to the west side, north side, San Maria softball, all the leagues, kids and families that were all out there. And it was beautiful to see everybody coming out of the house a little bit, and taking a walk and watching the kids playing basketball on the playground, the sports track, the skate park was okay, and just around and everywhere, you go anywhere around town, everybody's coming out a little bit, We still have restrictions, that people still stay home and safe, but it's beautiful that everybody's still out there. And I was able to get down to the Strawberry Festival drive-through, and they had that drive-through, old classic cars, that go out on there. And able to get here to the Travelers parking lot, and thousands of people with their cars, automobiles, and it was, I don't know, some years ago with the fellas, to be able to walk around there and see the people out there, they're just gathering all over the place in Santa Maria, so there's a lot of people and a lot of groups that we can get together to help with these groups, that we have to tap into, and one of them are car clubs, and the different ones, those are big groups, so getting with those car clubs, different, talk to a young man about having racetracks, racetracks, that's it, talk to you about that a little bit, so he's putting together another plan to come forward with the racetrack idea, so there's a lot of things that people are still interested in, I'm glad to see that Santa Maria is still, waiting to go forward, they have a lot of hopes here for the city still.
I just want to remind everyone, I am very fortunate to announce that I have my vaccinations, and I encourage all of you to as well, if you haven't already. And I'm sure, like with everyone else,
I've had both mine.
we're all looking forward to society opening up again. And it's all of our roles to go out and encourage people. There's so many anti-vaxxers out there, to encourage them to go and get vaccinated. Because now it's not a matter of whether there are enough vaccinations. There are. Encourage them to do so. And the schools are looking forward to opening up. You know, my wife and daughter are teachers. They're teaching in the classroom again, so happy to see that. So our next meeting will be Tuesday, June 8th, and I just want to take a moment to, on behalf of all the commissioners, thank Alex and the department for hosting the retreat. It's always a pleasure. Anything else before we adjourn? Thank you so much.